Well, hello, sports fans. We're with Lance Brauman, coach at Pure Athletics in Claremont, Florida. And Lance has agreed to give us a little bit of time and talk about sprinting and talk about training in the time of COVID. First of all, how's you and your family?
Yeah, everybody's good. Everybody's good. Summer break started, so
the kids are at home.
Pretty normal here, really. It's not too bad.
So how has COVID-19, the pandemic, affected your training with your athletes? What have you had to do?
When it really hit, we probably went down on total shutdown around middle of March.
Okay.
So we were able to find some parks that we could still go to, and then we had a couple athletic fields that were county owned, so they're out in the middle of nowhere. So you could get on them. We broke it into 4 groups. I had groups of about 4 or 5 athletes out there at a time, kept everybody spaced apart, and we went 6 weeks just out on the grass, and then we've probably been back on the track going on 4 weeks now. So we're still keeping it in smaller groups, keeping it around 6 to 8 in a group, and then just scattering the practice times out.
Okay. What is do you foresee a short season for your athletes later this summer? Are you guys going to try to go to Europe?
Yeah, we're hoping so. They're planning on having a little bit of a European circuit, so we're hoping to get a part of that, get to be a part of that. Which maybe it's 2 or 3 races, maybe it's 4 or 5, but we'll just wait and see.
How has this been a challenge for elite athlete motivation? I know I get a lot of notes from high schoolers and high school coaches about, well, how do we keep things going? How has it been for your athletes?
I mean, a little tough, but at the same time, this is what we do. I mean,
sure.
You're especially during the real lockdown period. They got to get out of the house, see a couple people, and it was, as long as we could get out and do something, it was better than sitting at the house. So we got out and did as much as we could, kept it as normal as possible considering the conditions. And then as far as training and stuff goes, we just did a time trial this week for a 150 and a 300 to have a little bit of fun. But, we're training like we're going to race in 2 weeks, and then we'll just, and then if we don't race, then, we'll throw time trials in. I've got a good competitive group. It's got a good number of athletes to it. So we're able to get some things done, but you still, this is our job. So still got to get up, still got to go to work every day.
Speaking of your job, I wanted to ask you about something because I didn't know, a lot of my readers don't know the background. For elite athletes and working with USADA and WADA, they have to give track of where they're at a certain number of times a week. Is that correct?
Every day.
Every day.
Yes.
In your life experience, is that a difficult thing to do?
Is it difficult?
Or is it more about coordination?
I mean, it's, my understanding of it is that you give a window of when you're going to be home every day. Most of them do it in the morning, like 6 to 7 or something of that nature.
Sure.
And then you have to give whereabouts as far as where your training sites are and those types of things. And, if it's in your window, you need to be in the place you tell them you're supposed to be. And then, if you're training at a site that can come different times of the day, but, you're still, it's gotten easier and easier. Now you can just fill it out on an app. It takes 2 seconds to update it. So
all right.
Not that difficult.
I didn't know the background behind it. I thought I'd ask you just to kind of get a little bit of a feel. So if you were coaching high school kids right now, how would you approach sprinters in this type of, in the COVID environment?
Well, what we're doing, which is, sprinting in my opinion.
Yeah.
But we're spending a little bit more time on, the mechanics of it, trying to work on top end mechanics as far as knee positions, how they're coming off the ground. We're in pretty good shape because we've been training for a while. So, we're probably doing a little less volume and a little bit more just technical work than what we normally would do this time of year, based on the fact that we don't have races, so we have more time at training.
Sure.
But just, at the end of the day, trying to be a better athlete. The better athlete you are, the easier it is to make corrections. And, as you can make corrections, it makes sprinting easier.
Now you're working with short or 100, 200 sprinters. You have a few 400 athletes, correct? And then you have a couple.
I'm pretty spread out over the 1 through the 4 right now.
Okay. And then you have a couple jumpers, correct?
I have one right now, yes.
One jumper. How do you work with jumpers right now? Are you just having them continue doing their jump work? Are they working with your sprinters all the time?
No, they're still, a couple days a week jumping, a couple days a week sprinting. The female that I coach is British, and, she went home right before the pandemic, so she wasn't able to come back. But, her training schedule is the same. And, we're working in like this week we did, 5 times 10-step jumps.
Okay.
And measured them, and then every 3 weeks kind of figure out a test score of some sort, whether it's a jump or something in the weight room, but, trying to keep it fun, keep it competitive, and, show progress. And that's what you want to do during the season anyhow. So you be a little creative, but, have some fun with it.
Let's look to the future. Right now, obviously, Noah Lyles had a great season last year. Do you foresee in the next couple of years having him double at championships?
The plan was to double this year.
Okay. So, okay.
To at least double at the trials and then hopefully make teams. It's never given that you're going to make the team, so you want to take care of that part first, and then But the idea was to try to do both at the Olympic trials, and if he made the team in both, do both at the games.
Now, obviously, no Olympic trials, no Olympics this year. Is there going to be an outdoor U.S. championships, or is that still up in the air? Have you heard anything about that?
You're going to have to ask USA Track and Field that answer. I mean, that question. I'm not sure.
Okay.
They've mentioned it. Dates have been bounced around, but I'm not in on the know as far as the ins and outs of that. If they have one and it makes sense, we'll go. If not, then we won't. But it's kind of right now. It's training, having fun, trying to get better at things. And then as meets come up, or if we see the opportunity for a meet, try to be ready to run and have, get back at it a little bit.
When Noah won his 200 last year in Doha, was there anything that surprised you about that race?
No, not really. I mean, he was a little tired at the end of the season. We'd had a long year and run a lot of Diamond League meets. We had discussed it beforehand that because he was a young athlete and had never made a senior team, it only made sense to go after one event at his first major championship. So, that was, in hindsight, a really good decision on our part, I think. It proved to pay off. But, the part that people don't see is that he went ahead and ran a full Diamond League schedule on both the 1 and the 2, which, took a little bit out of him as the year went on. He was able to win both, which was the goal. The goal all along was to make the team in the 2, to run the 2 at the championship, but to try to go after 2 wins in the Diamond League in both the 1 and the 2. He was able to do everything that we wanted to, but he was a young guy. That the season got long for all of us, and I was just happy that he stayed fit and was able to win. Everybody started talking about time this and time that, and at a major championship, and it's your first one, and it's that late in the year. I mean, you've been training for 11 months. I was pretty happy with the fact that he just won.
As a sport, does track and field put too much emphasis on times?
Yeah, I can't tell you what everybody else's opinion is on that, but
sure, but just yours.
As far as my opinion on it, and it's been this way ever since I started coaching, is that the sport's about winning races, or at least trying to win races. And if you win races or try to do your best in races, times will always come. You can, people talk about world records and American records, and there's so many intangibles that have to go along with that. Weather, the weather has to be right on a day that you're topped in, ready to train right. And, things have to align for that type of stuff to take place. Whereas championships, when it is, you train for it, you put everything around it, and you systematically go after it. You train for championships, in my opinion. You don't train for records. Records, if you get in a hot race and everything's right and you're ready to run fast, you have a chance to run fast. But I'm more of a purist in the fact that, I like seeing people race.
Sure.
Times take care of themselves.
The for middle distance runners, the Diamond League and a World Championship are two different can of worms. Do you see that the same as with sprinters?
Yeah, because the Diamond League Championship's a one-off race.
Okay.
Yeah, and one-off races and training for one-off races is different than training for championship races.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the amount of work you have to put in, the type of training that you're doing, like I said before, we put our biggest emphasis on championships. So we train for rounds. We train for the ability to come back and run fast 3 times in one day or 3 times in 2 days.
Yeah.
Other people train for one-off races. Nothing wrong with either way. It's just kind of, what your emphasis is. I don't see a problem with either one. That's just what we prefer to do here.
Sure. How do you keep your athletes open for relays? Because obviously, especially on the U.S. side, it's rather politic. It's not always just the fastest guys. But how do you keep them open that there's a possible opportunity for that? Is there anything you do in training?
You know me pretty well. I don't really deal with politics too well. So, if
like Noah
what athlete you have, I'm not the type that's going to go sit there and banner and try to finagle a guy onto a team. That's not the way it should be done, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I view relays differently than a lot of people, but my idea of a relay, especially at a championship meet, is that's for fun. That's to do things as a group, as a team.
Yeah.
Those guys need to be out there having a good time, and that's their opportunity to relax and unload. You got to get your individual stuff out of the way, because that's at this level, that's what pays your bills. And then when it comes time for relays, you're supposed to enjoy relays. Relays aren't supposed to be that uptight and that. And this is truly my opinion, but it shouldn't be the add-all, end-all. And then as far as people picking relay teams, if you're fast enough, they're going to put you on the team. If they don't, that's their mistake, and we just move on.
Do you obviously you coach athletes from a couple different countries, from several different countries, and each country has different approaches, especially like to relay teams. Some of them actually spend time practicing and things like that. Do you think it's a big deal that the U.S. doesn't have specific relay camps at the level that some of the other countries have? Like in the UK, they have that relay pool. And if they're on the relay pool, they have to be at those events.
My answer to this is probably going to be contrary to most, but like I said before, relays are supposed to be fun. Everybody talks about getting a baton around the track. You can get 4 guys, go to the Florida relays, tell them where their steps are at, and they'll get the baton around the track.
Okay.
It's when you start putting too much emphasis on this thing that it starts turning into a problem.
So much pressure.
And the thing you run into at this level is that, when you get the 4 best guys, and they typically have all been either the second leg or the fourth leg their whole career. Well, you got to get some guys that have run some different legs, but, you need to run them there in championships when they're younger, and then, and then keep the blood moving through. But I personally think that the event's overcoached most of the time.
Okay.
You can get a standard mark. You can put them at 32 feet. 32 footsteps apart, and get a baton around the track, as long as the guy leaves when he's supposed to, and the guy bringing it in doesn't get hurt.
Okay.
So it shouldn't have. Now, to get it faster, you can obviously manipulate that, move it a little bit here, a little bit there, but it's checkers. It's not chess.
Okay. Shaunae Miller-Uibo had a fantastic season last year. And I remember talking to you after the 400 meters, and you said she ran a pretty darn good race. She was a little bit surprised with the other athlete. But you showed respect for the other athlete at the time. With the recent controversy about this athlete missing 4 tests now, any thoughts or comments about it? Or are you going to leave it alone?
Yeah, it's not my place to make that decision. They have people in place that their job's to police the sport.
Sure.
And I just feel that everybody should be on the same page. Everybody should come down to the ones that, are the most talented, to work the hardest, should win the medals. As far as somebody missing 4 tests, that's a policing issue, and that's not part of my job. I think that if you're going to have rules, people need to follow them.
Yep.
I think that everybody should be treated the same when it comes to that. And, if the rule is 3 missed tests, it's 3 missed tests. I mean, there's no black and white on that. If you can come back and prove that you didn't miss one, then okay, that's fine. But, at the end of the day, there's policing in the sport for a reason, and those people need to do their job. And if they're doing their job, that's all we can ask.
Now, at the same time you were coaching Shaunae, you also were helping her husband, Maicel. Is that correct?
Yeah, he pronounces that Michael, but go ahead.
Michael. Okay. Sorry. Thank you for telling me. What events did you help? Did you help him with the whole range, or what did you work with him on?
Well, he trains here year round, and then he'll go back to Georgia where he went to college to do some event specific stuff, some on the pole vault, some on, the shot and disc. But he spends 99% of the time in Claremont. But as far as how we do things, is I design his running program as far as his, the hurdles, the sprints. I help him with the long jump, help a little with the high jump. He does, if he needs somebody to watch him in the pole vault, I'll watch him, but I don't really coach him in that event. Okay. And then the throws and stuff, he handles most of the throws on his own. He's a pretty diligent athlete.
Sure.
But his college coach and I just kind of, when it comes time for a championship, his college coach is a multi-event guy, and so he spends the time with him on meet days. As you said, I coach a lot of different athletes, so it's not as easy for me to be there all day, going from event to event. So, but if I'm to be totally honest with you, he's pretty self-motivated, self-coached in a lot of different ways, and I help him when he needs help, and if he asks for help, I give it to him. But as far as an everyday type thing, I design his running workouts, and then help him kind of pick days for certain events. But a lot of that stuff he does on his own. He's a pretty talented guy.
We've joked a little bit about Shaunae doing multi-events. Do you see that in her future?
Maybe in an off year. I'm not, whatever.
Sure.
Have some fun. But, right now I think that she has the ability to run a really fast 4 and a really fast 2. So, I'd like to put our emphasis there. I think she could run a good 100 if we need to. But, I think that she's still, she's run quick, don't get me wrong, but she's capable of running faster than she has.
Will you, like you had talked about Noah doubling this year, will we see Shaunae double in the next couple of years at championships?
When if the schedule is anywhere close to being conducive to doing it, yes.
Okay.
People ask those all the time.
Sure.
Most of the athletes I know, at least the ones I train, the ones I'm around, the ones I see even on the circuit, these people like to run. They want to run as many races as they possibly can run.
Sure.
If they're fit and they're healthy and they're ready to go, you let them run.
Would you let them double at a Diamond League event?
Generally not, and especially for somebody, if it's the same day, especially for somebody like hers, that the way the schedule is set up is you have to run a 400. They have 400 scheduled at the beginning of every Diamond League meet, either 4 hurdles or 400. And I'm not a firm believer that you run a 4 and then try to come back and run a 2. I believe that stride pattern, stride frequency, you're always better off running the 2 first and then coming back to the 4, because the 4 kind of throws off your rhythm. And plus running the fatigue coming around the turn, you're asking yourself for, generally for something bad to happen.
Okay. We've got about 5 minutes left, and I wanted to talk to you about coaching a little bit.
Sure.
What is the biggest lesson you learned as an early coach? If you were talking to a room full of young coaches, what advice would you give them?
That's a good question. One, figure out the type of program you want to coach.
Okay.
And what kind of coach you want to be, your philosophy, that sort of thing. And then go out and find little pieces to add to that to to structure your program around, because you see too many times people changing their program. They're not, they look to do this and then they make drastic changes. I'm a firm believer that that as a coach, you need to believe 100% in what you're doing. Now, whether that's right or that's wrong, you figure that out as time goes on. But you need to think that it's the best, because these athletes aren't aren't stupid. Yeah. And if they don't think you're 100% confident in what you're telling them to do, they're going to know it. Okay. And if you're not confident, they're not going to be confident. And an athlete that's not confident is not going to run fast.
Lance, thank you. What do you think about with what's going on with COVID right now? Do you believe we're going to have a college season next year?
I hope so.
Yeah.
I mean, I hope we get back to normal as soon as possible. Just for every reason.
Sure.
But we'll see. And I mean, it's a question can't be answered. Unfortunately, you don't know. So well, the only thing I can worry about is the people that I work with every day, and and we're treating it like we just have more time to get ready. And so that's how we're using this extra time and the extra downtime. And then besides that, I travel a lot during the year, and I'm not traveling much, so I'm getting some stuff done around the house, which is kind of strange. But I've enjoyed that to a degree too, so that works out good.
Good.
But, it's different for everybody, but everybody in the world right now is different. So
no, it is.
I'm one of those guys that I try not to get caught up in myself too much, because I can sit there and complain about how I have it, but compared to most people in this world, I've got it pretty good. So, and the people that I'm working with have it pretty good. We're just trying to make the best of what we can, and realize that there's a ton of people in this world not as fortunate as we are.
That's true. Well, Lance, thank you for your time today with RunBlogRun. I hope to see you sitting in a little cafe in Paris, perhaps having an adult beverage after a meet later this year.
I've been known to do that on occasion.
Yeah, I heard rumor about that. So, but thank you again for the time. My best to your family and the athletes, and we'll get this posted up next week.
Sounds good. Good to talk to you, Larry.
Thanks, man. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Yep. Bye.
Hey, sports fans, Larry Eder, RunBlogRun. We just did Socialing the Distance with Coach Lance Brauman. Coach Lance Brauman has Pure Athletic Track Club. Among his athletes are Noah Lyles, Shaunae Uibo, Maicel Uibo. He's got a fine group of sprinters and from the 100 to the 400, plus a long jumper, and his athletes are exclusively Adidas. I've known Lance for a long time and have been lucky enough to spend some time with him, have him translate some of the events in our sport, but also I'm fascinated with how he deals with his athletes. I think he's one of the finest coaches in the world, and he's one of those coaches. The biggest compliment I could give him, if my kid was an athlete, a real into sprints or into the decathlon, he's one of the few that I would be honored to have coach my kid. I think that's a big deal. And but we had a far-ranging interview today, and I hope we get a few more. But today I just wanted to know about how's he working with his athletes, and he's got them in small groups of 4 to 6, and they spent about 10, 12 weeks on the grass, on hills and parks, working on technique, and they've been back on the track for about 2 weeks. And he's hoping that there's going to be a few meets at the end of the season for him. If not, he'll do some time trials. If anything, Lance Brauman is a pragmatist, and his athletes have complete confidence in him. It's fascinating to watch him on the track. I just recall in 2000, I think it was 2017, when Noah had an injury, and he pulled him out of that the final, the 200 at the U.S. Champs. He told me it would take him a few weeks and he'd be back. And then he reminded me at the Von Damme meet to make sure I watched Noah that night. And yes, something serious. So he knows his athletes. He knows when they're going to come around. He knows when they're under the weather, when he's got to change something. There's an art and science to coaching. And Lance is one of those coaches, like Coach Pfaff and Coach Raina Ryder, who get their athletes, love what they do, and combine all the talents. Because to be a successful coach, you've got to have a lot of things going. We're going to talk with him, I hope, more in the future about coaching high school athletes, because he's had success there too. And one of the questions I asked him was, what's the biggest thing you could tell high school coaches about coaching? And he said, find an area that you're good at and build on it and bring those pieces in. And I think that's fascinating, because I've seen that's what he does with his club, Pure Athletic. And I also see that that's something that most successful coaches do. And I think that's very, very important. But Lance, as you can see, is a straight shooter. We talked a little bit about the most unfortunate issue recently, the woman who beat Shaunae Maicel Uibo in the 400 meters in Doha has had 4 tests that she has missed. Not 2, not 3, but 4. And she was quoted after the 3 is that, the new normal is missing 3 tests. And that's hogwash. It's a pretty simple program. You can keep track of it. I can understand people making mistakes, but I can't understand people missing 4 tests. I think that's a little out of control. And the Athletics Integrity Unit has to deal with it. But when that happens, people question, well, how the hell did someone who didn't race much last year and wasn't drug tested even get into the final? And that's one of the things that Lance said that stuck with me, which is that you want it to be pretty even, Steven, when people compete, because you want to see racing. That's what Lance loves, is he loves racing. And I do too. And that's what fans of our sport do too. And we want athletes to be at that level, and that it comes down to who wants it more. As decathlete 1968 gold medalist Bill Toomey told me years ago, is that the one who wins the gold is the one who covets it the most. There's other ways of saying that. Bill's pretty forceful and dramatic. But Lance would tell you that he trains his athletes to get to a high level of fitness and a high level of mental fitness, and he helps put opportunities for them to race in front of them. For Shaunae, a 400 one day, a 200 the next. For 100 one day, the 200 the next. And he reminded me of something that I shouldn't have to have been reminded of, which is that these athletes love to race. They like to do the 100, 200, 400. It's tough, but they enjoy racing. They enjoy their life, and they enjoy their lifestyle. And Lance reminded me, too, that there are people who have it much worse off than us. We're stuck in houses. I was stuck in a house for 12 weeks in Wisconsin. I get out for my walks and a little bit of shopping. And now I'm in California, and for about the same time, I'm going to be stuck here. We're in Santa Clara County, and the numbers are continuing to come up, so we've got to be pretty careful. So during this COVID-19 pandemic, I ask everybody just to be careful. I say to love your families, talk to the relatives, hug the people that you're close to, exercise every day, and of course, read and watch RunBlogRun. And I think everything will be good. And wear that mask. Physically isolated. It's still important to do that. I wear my mask out of the house all the time. And I'm one of those poster children for getting sick. But you guys don't have to be. So please, wash your hands, 20 seconds. It's hard for guys to do. And then wear that mask where you have to, and exercise. Hydrate, get some sleep, watch something fun on Netflix or Prime. And I've been watching great tank battles. That's what I put in the background when I'm doing some writing. Anyway, this is Larry Eder with RunBlogRun and Socialing the Distance. This is produced by Mike Deering and Adam Johnson Eder of the Shoe Addicts. Talk to you soon.